Hi, I'm Kaylee, and today I'm going to be reading you a story entitled Caroline's Adventure, a storybird written by Kaylee Kessler for EDU 250, illustrated by Alice Carroll. When you hear this tone, you will know it is time to turn the page. So let's begin. The student learning objective is as follows. At the conclusion of this reading, the student shall be able to discuss the importance of understanding homophone meanings within context. Homophones. Knight, K-N-I-G-H-T, a soldier in armor from the Middle Ages. Night, N-I-G-H-T, the time of darkness between one day and the next. Once upon a time, there was an adventurous and brave young girl named Caroline. She loved to sing and dance and be outside with her sweet dog named Pepper. Caroline was always eager to explore the world around her and set out on new adventures. She was fearless. Caroline spent most of her days with her best friend Curtis. They played hide and seek together, practiced their archery, and planned new adventures to seek. Caroline and Curtis had wild imaginations. They both were continuously finding something new that interests them. One day, while Caroline and Curtis were practicing their archery skills, they began to discuss different types of treasures. Curtis told Caroline about beautiful gold shimmering stars that can be found on a nice night. Caroline, these gold stars are just like finding treasure, Curtis said. Later that day, Caroline was over by the river trying to catch a beautiful butterfly in her small terrarium. She kept thinking to herself about what it would be like to set out on an adventure to find the gold shimmering stars that Curtis mentioned. All through the night, Caroline dreamed about all of the gold treasure she could possibly find outside of the village. She even dreamed about finding the most beautiful gold shimmering stars on a nice night, just like Curtis mentioned. The next day, Caroline woke up very early, determined to find these treasured stars. She decided she would go and find a nice knight outside of the village and ask him so kindly for these treasured stars in exchange for food. So, she packed all of the food she had in hopes to get treasured stars in return. Caroline knew there was another village miles and miles away. She had to get across a large forest, get through a large cave, and pass over a large stream to get to the next village, where all of the knights lived. She packed her things and the extra food to give to the knight. Caroline and Pepper then set out on their adventure to find a nice knight. Caroline and Pepper traveled their path through the large forest to get to the next village until it was dark out. They found a spot to camp at until the next morning. They sat near the warm fire to cook their dinner. All Caroline could think about was the gold star she hoped to receive. The next day, Caroline and Pepper traveled through a large cave to get to the next village. Caroline was quite frightened, but could do anything with Pepper by her side. Later that day, Caroline and Pepper finally reached the end of the cave leading to the large stream. They had no other way to get to the other side of the stream but to swim through it. Once they made it across the large stream, they were soaked. Caroline dumped the water out of her boots and continued on into the knight's village. After 2 long days of traveling to get to the next village, she came across a nice knight named Simon. "Sir, My friend Curtis told me that a nice knight like yourself has beautiful gold stars that are like treasure. I traveled to find you and hope that you will accept all of my extra food in exchange for a few gold stars, said Caroline with a cheerful facial expression. Simon looked puzzled. I would love to make an exchange for extra food, but I do not have any beautiful stars that you speak of, Simon said. Caroline quickly looked down in disappointment. I am very sorry, little girl. I wish I could help, but I have no treasure or gold stars. Caroline gave the extra food to the knight and said, Here, you can have the food. Thank you anyway. Caroline walked away, heartbroken. Caroline traveled all the way back home to her village. She was so upset and did not understand why the nice knight did not have the beautiful gold stars. Curtis came to see Caroline and noticed how sad she was. He comforted her and gave her a hug. What's wrong, Caroline? Asked Curtis. I traveled all the way to the next village and found a nice knight, just like you said. He did not have any beautiful gold stars that are like treasure. I even offered him food in exchange for the stars, but he did not have any, Caroline said. Oh no, Caroline, I meant you can find these beautiful gold stars on a nice night, NIGHT. When it gets dark out between each day, you can look up at the dark sky and see beautiful shimmering stars, said Curtis. Don't be upset, Caroline. You mixed up homophones. They are words that sound exactly the same but have different meanings and are spelled differently. Just like night, NIGHT, and night, KNIGHT, said Curtis. Like hair, HAIR, and hair, HARE? Asked Caroline. Yes, exactly. I am sorry you got confused, Caroline. Homophones can be quite confusing, said Curtis. Later that evening, Curtis taught Caroline more about homophones, their meanings, and how to use them properly. They even played a matching homophone game until the end of the night. The end. Now we are going to check for knowledge to see if you understood the author's purpose in this story. How could have Curtis elaborated on his use of the word night, NIGHT, to avoid confusion in the story? Good, that's a good idea. What are other methods of learning Caroline can use to understand different homophone meanings? Those are great ideas. Good job. Can you create your own story where a misunderstanding could occur using another set of homophones? Wow, that's an awesome story. Good job.